Speaking of all these people that you've worked with, again, Justin Bieber, Machine Gun Kelly, Kid Laroi, just to mention a few. I want to know, like, what have these experiences taught you as an artist, and how have they helped you grow in the industry?
I mean, it's obviously cool being around those guys. They all have their like for LAROI and Bieber has his own team, LAROI has his own team. So
Yeah,
when you're editing a video, it's like there's a story with Cole Bennett and Kanye on Mixed Personalities video that
I remember that. Yeah,
Kanye didn't like the color palette, but YNW Melly was in jail, so he had no say. And since it was his video, he decided not to change it and stuck to his gun.
right.
So each artist has a different viewpoint, and you have to kind of be like, okay, this is the color palette we want to go with. This is like how it's going to be. And it was really cool to see that, just like being there and like, just like looking at the lighting and like drone ops, like the drone ops when they're flipping over. It's just,
Right.
it's so cool. They had me, my training for that was audio. So they would, they would splice it up into like 200, 300 pieces. I would be sitting next to like another guy.
Wow.
And one guy would oversee us. So you put it into 200, 300 pieces over a 3-minute song. Say, we want you to put in an order and we're going to time you. So that's what we did. It was like solving an endless Rubik's Cube. And that was like my first training in the music sense. It wasn't really like being around the artist that much.
Oh,
Bieber
you had
was
to do a
maybe there
test.
for
You're
like
saying you had to do a test even before you were hired,
kind of
kind of
just
thing?
like learning how to.
Oh,
So
wow.
when you're there and they have the audio, they want to know that like you can edit and like do
Right.
it. So audio, when they're switching up cameras for like certain words or certain verses,
Right.
how it can be so smooth into like how they're doing it. So that's kind of the way to line it up, I guess.
Shit. So you have
Is
to
like
learn
put the
sound
song
too,
in
eh?
order,
That's wild.
split, yeah. So sound, lighting, gaffing, that was like the first sort of training. Like just being around artists of that capability. It
Right.
wasn't really necessarily being close to them. But they have some crazy personalities, and obviously Leroy's like my age, so it's really
That's
cool
wild.
like to
Yeah.
like he was on tour and you get to talk to his team and you suggest ideas and everything. It's like a lot of the artists I work with, I try to like keep them around my age. So you have Chris, you have Tekka, you have Leroy, you have Chris and Tana, and when you suggest ideas to them as a director, as a creative, and you say this would be a really cool idea, and they're the same age, so they kind of see it the same way as you. But if you go up to a guy like Eminem or Kanye and you say,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is what I'm feeling," and they're like 30 years older than you, and you've only been doing this for 2 years, they're gonna say
Yeah.
like, "Screw you! I have a guy that's like already done that," or "This is like the
Yeah.
worst idea." So it's cool to like test it out and kind of get the freelance to do it. Um, but there's some pretty cool artists. They have some crazy personalities. Machine Gun Kelly is one of the craziest fucks I've ever seen in
Yeah.
my life. Yeah, he's
Like a
wild.
train wreck, or like just artistically creative, or like
I
what do you mean
mean,
by
you
that?
could tell he's really artistic actually. I mean, he's a really cool guy. But at parties you see like on social media, I'm sure you saw like there's him breaking his head or breaking a wine
Yeah.
glass over his head, and then he's like, wow, that was like, so this is where his creative aspect comes in. So he's like gushing blood from his forehead, and then you go and look at the Cleveland show where they sold out his home, the Cleveland Browns stadium, like for
Yeah.
his home show, and he zip lines across, lands at the stage, and he was like, yeah, like we stayed overtime. I have to pay for this whole set. And then he says quote for quote, "I'm rich bitch," and takes another champagne glass and cracks it over his head. So that was like all originating from a bar after party from a
Yeah.
club
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Boston. And I was telling you that he's like grown so much, and he's actually a really humble guy. Like for the most part, I mean, obviously he's dating Megan Fox, and uh,
Yeah.
but he like you look at the documentary that he came out with, that was incredible. But like 5 years ago, he was performing in Boston at the same club that I had the after party with,
Yeah.
and there was 7 people in there,
Huh.
only 7 people, which is really
You're
cool to
saying
see
like when he
how
was starting
quick it
off?
moves. When he was starting off five
Yeah,
years ago, there
man.
was only 7 people in Boston. So it shows how quick the industry moves and how you can't really stay in one place. And that's why like I'm not really tied down to one artist and like doing this tour, doing that tour sort of thing.
That's smart.
Um,
But also you got to learn
it's
learn
like
from that, where it's like every opportunity you take on can lead you to an even better one, right? It's like you never know who you're going to
exactly.
meet. Because like you said, right, all these artists we speak of, they were once nobodies. People forget that.